Some further questions. How and where was the food harvested? Can you answer that question now? How was your food processed between harvest and packaging? What, if anything, was added to the food before you purchased it? Again, when we talked about the enrichment process, was there anything added to your food before you bought it, or is it in its whole state? What was sprayed on it? Did it go through radiation? Was it ripened with gases on its 2,000-mile trip to you? What is the nature of your food? That's why these questions are important. And if your food was cooked prior to the purchase of the food, how was it cooked? Most of you have never even asked these questions before, but these are the important questions. This comes before the diet. This comes before the meal planning methodology. You've got to know these questions. You've got to be able to answer them. All of these questions are valuable to ensure that the foods in your home and your meal plan are maximizing your health potential. You will increase your health potential by leaps and bounds just by being able to answer these questions, just by knowing your farmer, just by getting your foods locally and knowing that they were picked just a couple days before you ate them. Isn't that great to know that you can make such a difference in your health just by answering these simple questions? And again, we can go after this stuff way better today than we could 10 and 20 years ago because we've got more options. This is what is so wonderful about today's farmer, is because the ones that get it and they see it, they go after it and they create options. And all of you get to benefit from it. Why food sourcing is important to your health outcomes, to your diabetes, to your high cholesterol, to your degenerative diseases, to your osteoporosis, to your allergies. Why is food sourcing important? GMO seeds and GMO feed. I'd rather not be the science experiment, thank you. If you guys want to continue to be the science experiment, go ahead. You want to know my opinion? I'd rather not. If I can't prove something to be safe, and you're going to mess with the genes, the very basis of life, sorry, I'm opting out. You may not. You may think you're okay with that, but at least you know now. Okay? Chemical, pesticide, herbicide, and fertilizers. Conventional food, this stuff can be used ad nauseum. There is really no limit at all. Every year, hundreds of tons, millions of tons, of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides are put onto land, and expecting land, it doesn't affect the land. And it doesn't affect the food that you're eating. Again, rather not be that science experiment. We have plenty of data directly connecting pesticide, herbicide, and insecticide use to genetic mutation and problems inside your body. There is a lot of data on that. These chemicals don't go unnoticed by the body. And remember how I said in lesson 1, how you can't just put something in your body and have it just be neutral? Your health isn't a vacuum. It's either going to be good for you or it's going to set you back. And these are the things that I'm telling you. You've got a choice where you can eat food that is either raised this way or raised a way that won't allow this use at all. Have you ever wondered why there's such stark difference in the organic standards versus conventional? Did you see all that stuff on that list? They're both regulated by the same government organization. Why are they so different? Why won't they allow these things to be used on organics? Probably because they've got some information that the general public doesn't know about. So that's why they hold organic farmers to that standard. Unnatural feeding of animals. Again, animal byproducts in feed that the animals are not supposed to be eating other animals, and corn or grain being fed to animals that were not designed by nature to eat corn or grain. Another thing that creates large amounts of bacteria and causes a lot of bacteria problems. And inhumane and unsanitary living conditions. Listen, I am not a member of PETA, okay? I love my dogs like you wouldn't believe. I don't have kids yet, I've got the pups. Got 3 Pomeranians at home, Princess Diesel and Bentley. And I love animals. I grew up on a dairy farm. I am not a conspiracy theorist by any means. But if you've ever been in a conventional farming operation and seen the conditions that these animals live in, it was not like the north central Wisconsin dairy farm I grew up on. These animals hardly get to see green grass in their entire life when that is supposed to be their natural diet. In other operations, these animals don't even see the light of day. How many of you would like to live that way? Listen, I understand that we're at the top of the food chain. We were given animals as a responsibility, and I take that seriously. That's why I'm not so keen on how a lot of the conventional practices are going right now. Because I don't necessarily think it's right. You can make your own decision, but you better get educated on how it's being done. Most of you, up until just 15 minutes ago, didn't know that chickens were fed arsenic during their very, very short life while they're being grown 3 times faster than they normally would grow with hormones. Most of you didn't realize that. It might change the way that you think about how chickens are raised in this country. Again, conventional chickens. These are important things. Growth hormones and forced growth of plants and animals, forcing something to grow faster than it normally would. You'll have to make that call if you think that's right or not. Antibiotic use and abuse. Did you know that 70% of the antibiotics sold in the United States are used on our animals? 70% are used in the animals. Why would you use that much antibiotics in animals? Is it because they're sick? Did you guys know that your food supply was that sick before it got to the grocery store? That we had to use 70% of the world's manufactured antibiotics to grow these animals and keep them alive to slaughter weight? Did you know that? It's important you know that. Industry support with your dollars. Has anyone ever heard of tax subsidies before? Some of you may be getting checks. I don't know. The issue is, I don't necessarily see a nutritional value of raising corn and soybeans. Most people don't even realize that most of the crop of soybeans in the United States don't even go into food. They're not even food. And we're trying to use an argument that we're feeding the world. These beans aren't food, people. They're being fed back to animals, which is making them sick, by the way, because now we have to give them antibiotics. And then we have to put arsenic to kill the bacteria that are becoming resistant. You see this chain? The whole system is a little bit backwards. And corn, how many of you have eaten corn that came out of that field? It's not sweet corn. We aren't growing a bunch of sweet corn. This corn is being made into genetically modified foods, high fructose corn syrup. It's being made into the base products that are going into all of these processed foods that are being made that are causing, or at least since they've become more purchased, we've seen our disease rates go up. I can't say it's direct, but come on. Something's going on, right? And then pollution and runoff from our farms using chemicals. Obviously, it goes somewhere, right? It's washing into our streams. It's getting all over everything. And fish are dying all over the place. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's becoming a big issue. It's something that you need to pay attention to as consumers. Synthetic and chemical additives, preservatives, and stabilizers, food dyes, and colors. Just so you know, most of the processed food products in your home right now have one, if not all of these things in them. That's these really long ingredient panels, which your ingredient panel is more important than your actual nutrition facts that are showing you the grams and calories. You'll be surprised how much stuff is put into your food. Chemical sweeteners. Most people don't realize that most of the artificial sweeteners are made actually with a chemical process. And they've been linked to all kinds of health problems. Irradiation of your food. Most of you didn't know that your food was being exposed to large amounts of radiation before it was going to the grocery store. It's probably important that you at least know that, because again, you have a choice to purchase food that was grown that way and processed that way, or to purchase food that was not. Personally, I'd rather have my fruits and vegetables without radiation, please. One apple without radiation, please. Thank you. I have that choice. That's the choice I'm going to make. It's serving me well so far. I don't get sick. I get to feel awesome every day. I mean, like, it matters. And manufacturing and processing practices. All right, this is where we're going to get up. You guys have been sitting a little while. Let's get up and take in some deep breaths, please. Stretch your back out a little bit, twist and turn a little bit, get that blood flowing. One more deep breath, and then go ahead and have a seat.